Raven Software. I'm pretty sure you heard this name before, right? Chances are because of Call of Duty. Starting from Black Ops and Modern Warfare 3, but their story goes back, way back actually, all the way to the early 90s. Their first few games were titles like Black Crypt, Shadowcaster, Cyclones, but the real big boom came in 94 with Heretic. This became quite popular and ended up turning into a whole series with quite a few Hexen and Heretic games. In 97, Raven made an exclusive deal with Activision. That means the last Heretic game, Heretic 2, was published by Activision, and unfortunately this marked the end of the series. I feel like Activision had different things in mind for Raven. Anyway, what we are here for today only came 2 years after the Heretic series, Soldier of Fortune. The name comes from a magazine that started out in the 70s. This magazine mainly focused on military activities around the world, including wars, firearms, mercenaries, all you can imagine. Raven licensed the title, and the goal was to create a realistic shooter focusing primarily on mercenaries. For this, they chose to use the Quake 2 engine, just like Sin or Kingpin, the games I already made a video about. Oh, you see the pattern now? Good. The team wanted to make the game as realistic as possible, so they came up with a technology called Ghoul. This engine basically created 26 demi zones on the characters, and they would react differently depending on where you shoot them. I'm talking about exploding heads, flying limbs, and I could go on. Yeah, this is probably not surprising, but a lot of people were not a huge fan of this. The game was quite controversial, especially in Germany, where they had to censor a lot of things. They changed the cover art, removed the blood splatters. I remember almost everyone knew how violent this game was. It came up a lot in newspapers, TV. I somehow still managed to get a copy though, but don't tell my mom please. It seems like the Quake 2 engine had some really problematic titles, like Kingpin, Daikatana. Well, that one mostly because of the ad campaign. Yeah. Anyway, even though it was violent, it received a decent feedback and managed to sell around 300k units, which is not exceptional, but good enough for a sequel, Double Helix. But that's for another video. Now let's see what this game is about. This story has everything you would expect from the 90s. Bad guy, worse guy, one person saving the world, revenge, a lot of explosions. But wait, let's start from the beginning. We play as John Mullins, and he looks like an early version of Captain Price. He works for an undercover organization known as The Shop. Our first mission starts off in New York. A gang led by this lovely gentleman called Saber is trying to blow up a subway station. So our job is to go down there, rescue everyone we can, and stop Saber. We also have a partner, Hawk, who will come along on most of the missions and help us. I just don't understand why he's running all the time. This mission will always be close to my heart. I remember I could never beat this as a kid. There's a switch you need to pull, and I just simply couldn't find it. So I was just running around in the subway for hours, hanging around. Oh man, good times. I really liked the New York location. It was super authentic, with the grimy floors, filthy restrooms, graffitis on the walls and the trains, people peeing on the floor. That's exactly how I remember the New York City subway. It also had a strange Max Payne vibe to it. This mission ends with a pretty awesome section. John tries to chase Saber down on top of a train car. How cool is that? But yeah, unfortunately, as you would expect, he gets away. We get a word from the shop that there's something bigger happening in the background. An unknown organization stole 4 nukes and sold it to the highest bidder. Intel says they are on a train going straight to South Africa. The mission is pretty simple. Get on the train, get the warheads, and leave, preferably alive. This level is even more exciting than the previous one. Going through a moving train while fighting a ton of people and even a helicopter, this felt like a James Bond movie scene. 10 out of 10. I don't know man, I like trains, and I like moving trains even more. So yeah, this one got me. After going through the whole train, we finally find a nuke, and I thought I needed some kind of combination for this lock, but no, we can just shoot it off. That seems like a safe thing to do next to a nuclear warhead. Good job, John. Turns out there's only one nuke on this train, so we still need to find the other 3. So we fly back to the shop to report this, and it seems like they only sell 4 types of books. I mean, customers seem happy, so that's all that matters. The shop gathered some information on the remaining 3 3 nukes, one of them being in Kosovo, so that's where we are headed. I really like games where I can put my own loadout together, so I was super happy when I realized that Soldier of Fortune is one of those games. We can choose from a lot of utilities like flashbangs, grenades. The next mission starts in the sewers. This game didn't wait long with the sewer level, did it? I wasn't a huge fan of this area. But once we get to the surface, that's a different story. There is a war going on here between 2 factions. And dude, the atmosphere becomes so depressing. You can actually feel that there is a war going on in this place. Bombings, explosions, fire everywhere, and holy crap, the music goes crazy. Turns out the second nuke is already loaded to a bomber plane, so we need to find it. We end up sneaking into the bad guys' base, and Hawk says he's gonna help us with a little distraction. Well, his idea of a distraction is blowing stuff up and killing a dozen civilians. Listen, Hawk, my man, this is not cool. Anyway, second warhead defused, mission successful. Allegedly, the third nuke is in Siberia. I just gotta praise the level design again. I love this area so much. The constant wind, the crunchy snow, the fog, it's all just amazing. We go through this futuristic underground base, fight a few tanks, God I hate these things. John finally finds the missile and we have 1 minute to stop the launch. John blows the place up again and runs away again. John, I feel like you might have a problem with this blowing up thing, you know. The final warhead is in the possession of General Amu in Iraq. Oh boy, the soundtrack here is amazing. I actually really enjoyed this setting. I think they completely nailed the buildings and the design. Everything looks great. We go through a base again with a lot of switch and button hunting, and Hawk finally finds the warhead on a plane. We just have to protect Hawk while he defuses the bomb. This is where I started to use the deagle. Sounds like a cannon and hits like a truck. Perfection. Anyway, we fly away in the sunset with Hawk and return to the shop. The nukes are safe now, but there is a bigger problem, of course. A group, who call themselves the Order, was behind all this. A quick visit to New York to check on our old friend, Saber, because he might be involved. We chase Saber for a while, but he jumps into the sewers, and John thinks it's a good idea to throw a grenade next to a gas line. Quick heads up, it isn't. But Saber is still alive, and he looks like he just came home from a rave at 6 AM. Chase him a little more through the sewer system, yeah, sewer level number 2, but he runs into a nearby hotel. Here we have to work together with the police to catch his gang and rescue the hostages. This section was top-notch. I loved having the police on my side and just blasting through the hotel, catching the bad guys. We finally confront Saber on the roof, and he gives us some information on a guy named Dekker, who is apparently the leader of the Order, and he's working with someone named Jessica 6, and well, he just falls down. I promise, he just slipped. From now on, this game could be called Chasing the Dekker. Dekker is in Sudan, so that's where we are going. Not much going on here. I think this was my least favorite location of the whole game. Everything looks the same, nothing special about it, except... Okay, skip. Unfortunately, Dekker captures Hawk in Sudan, and well, we can't save him. And now Dekker? This whole thing is personal. The shop somehow linked Jessica 6 to Japan, so let's go Japan. Dude, the Japan mission is one of the best, honestly. Look at those neons, the streets, not to mention the authentic Japanese voice acting. We enter the Suni Tower to gather some information on Jessica 6, do some parkour on the side of the building, find a new futuristic brain fryer weapon, not sure how this fits into the game, but okay, destroy their mainframe, take down a helicopter, and leave. The shop managed to get some data out of the helicopter we destroyed, and it seems like Dekker fled to Iraq, so going back there. This location hasn't changed much since the last time we were here, so skip. General Amu, yep, that's the same guy, gives us a lead on Dekker, which Dekker doesn't really like, so Amu is RIP. John hasn't blown up anything in like a few hours now, so we destroy Dekker's oil refinery. And while doing that, we find out that his main base is in Germany. This place looks awesome. I had a little Wolfenstein vibe here. Dude, just look at this place. The chandeliers, the fresco, it's amazing. We find out that Jessica 6 is a missile and not a person. And Dekker's big plan is to blow up New York City with it. We have 4 minutes to stop the launch, and well, this was super stressful. And we finally face Dekker himself. And I have to say, this is the most underwhelming boss fight ever. First we need to fight his goons for a while, but these are the same enemies as before. Then it's time to fight the big boss. But he goes down so quickly. But John still feels like like he need to cut him in half. Okay, John, that's a bit dramatic, innit? And roll credits. Well, actually, no credits. Now the usual question, what do I think? It's really hard for me to review this game objectively. Soldier of Fortune played a big part in my childhood gaming, but I have to say it definitely didn't age that well as some of the other games I talked about. I really enjoyed the locations and the fact that we can basically travel around the world during these missions. I feel like there's a good diversity and the level designers did a great job. I like the first part of the story with the nukes and everything, but once it turns into a Dekker chase, it becomes a bit tedious, especially with the sci-fi weapons and all that. I thought this was supposed to be a realistic shooter. I think the weapon and gadget variety was more than enough, and the sound effects were quite detailed actually. The final boss fight is just simply disappointing. There is no better way to put it. There was this huge wind-up with the revenge story and everything, so I was expecting a bigger thing, honestly. As for the controversy it caused back then, I somewhat understand it. The game uses real locations and sometimes even real people, and pairing this with the brutality of this game can feel too real sometimes, and I understand some people found this too much. So my verdict is, Soldier of Fortune is a super fun game. It definitely has its flaws. I think it's worth playing through at least once, and at some point I will be back with the sequel. But in the meantime, let me know what you think. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye!